Going, I'm Clarabelle Calico, and today we're playing Chaos Head. Yay! Yippee! Woohoo! Woo! Boop. And then get little. Get a little. Continue. Quick load, maybe? I always... This one? We'll see. Oh, dang. I also forgot to write down what happened last time. That's okay. Maybe. If anyone asks, I'll... No, yeah, I'll just... we'll just continue on, I guess. Yasuji Ben was finally released from the long task force meeting and should have felt much better. Well, hello there, how's it going? But today, things were different. He walked away from the other detectives and toward the windowsill, where he called his junior partner. Beep beep boop beep boop boop boop. I like your videos, they're very entertaining. Oh, really? Thank you! I'm glad. Yay! Sue hadn't shown up for the meeting today. Van had wanted to skip it too, so it didn't seem fair that Sue got to. Sue might not look like it, but he took his work extremely seriously. At least that's what Ben had thought. So he was surprised when Sue skipped today. He tried to get a hold of him several times, and there'd been no answer. Ever since Ben had talked to Momose 2 days ago, he'd had a bad feeling that wouldn't go away. And things had gone even worse today. Not only was Sua missing when he'd brought him the GE rate during the meeting, Matsunga had told him he was being ridiculous and needed to stop wasting everyone's time. Oh, you're welcome. Yay! Please don't let anything else happen. Van sighed a little as he fanned his face. He heard the call being picked up and Sua answered. Finally. I also don't know if it's like loud enough for you, but I'm gonna turn it up on my end too. Ba-doom. The connection was really bad. Ben wondered if Sua was going in a tunnel. Oh wait, if Suna had gone off somewhere deep in the countryside in a tunnel. Yeah. Ben yelled. He stopped being able to hear Sua at all, and instead there was a small period of nothing but static. Yeah, what? Sua shouldn't have been going off on his own. Yeah, maybe. What is he doing over there? But Ben had a nasty habit of Doing just that, he chuckled. Maybe his bad habits have rubbed off on his junior partner. Ben's eyes went wide. So it's a 50-50 you got there.
とにかく一度戻ってこい。わかったか？いや、自分もう少し調べてみるっすから。あ？おい、ちょっと待て。大丈夫っす。任せて。
Oh, he went in a tunnel again.
あ、座。
Oops. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. The shaking got more and more violent. Ben couldn't even stay standing. He dropped to a crouch? Oh yeah, okay. He dropped to a crouch to keep from falling over. At first, the other detectives seemed unconvinced that an earthquake was happening. Seemed unconvinced, but they soon realized the seriousness of the situation, began to crouch or hide under tables. I'll also be in the earthquake. It's too much to do at one time. I'm either gonna read or shake. What? The clock on the wall, the pens and paper cups on the table, the projector device, one after another, they fell into the floor with a crash. The two whiteboards on the conference room fell too. Uh-oh. It was like a passenger jet that ran into a stream of turbulence. That's how it felt to Ben, like his legs weren't even touching the ground. The shaking was spinning his body left to right. It was probably a 5 or 6 in intensity. Is this the next big one? And of all times... Whoa. Then Ben felt a strong shock, like someone punched him in the head. He moaned in pain. Then Ben felt the... Oh, I clicked the screen instead of pushing the button. No one had physically punched him. It was just an incredible headache. Ouchie mama. Suddenly, a scream filled the conference room. Ben gritted his teeth and looked up and saw one of the local detectives had his hands pressed up against his head, trembling with pain. Then he fell helplessly to the ground, like a doll dropped by a child. Most of the other detectives were either wincing in pain, their hands against their temples, or holding their heads. What was this headache? He'd never felt anything like it before. Did it have something to do with the earthquake? Ben had no way of knowing. Little by little, the shaking stopped. Ben looked outside outside, vision blurry. There was a white light everywhere. It was so bright, Ben couldn't keep his eyes open. Oh no. The bed I don't sleep on. I opened my eyes, feeling a pain so strong I thought my head would burst. Oh my gosh, this room would probably be like a nightmare to be in an earthquake in. Because, like, look at that. Good thing he was, like, not in the way of that. That would hurt. I opened my eyes, feeling a pain so strong I thought my head would burst. I realized I'd fallen backwards in the middle of my room. I tried to get up, but when I did, the pain in my head spread through the rest of my body. I moaned in agony. After 5 minutes or so of writhing on the floor, the pain gradually subsided. I managed to use the bedpost as support to climb back up. I wiped away the thick sweat on my brow. My room looked like it had been hit by a tornado. All of my wives had either toppled over or fallen off their shelf entirely. The bed was now tilted, and my manga and H-game boxes had fallen off. I had fallen off it and scattered into the floor, or onto the floor. Yeah, it went into the floor. Molded and embedded itself in there. What had just happened? I picked up the phone and then heard Taruna say, and then it had turned into what sounded like an ambulance siren. That's right. There'd been that buzzer sound, and then a low sound of the earthquake rumbling, and then it felt like my whole body had boiled and melted. I didn't remember anything that happened after that. My mind was a total blank. Was this some kind of electromagnetic wave attack by Shogun? Maybe Shogun could do the same thing as the system I'd read about in the patent. The idea terrified me. I looked up at the ceiling, reeling from my headache. Of course, there was nothing to see. If my mind was being read, it was ready to be satellite high above. Oh, it was being read. Oh my gosh.
いくらなんでもそんなはずないよ。
Yeah, no way. But from what Senna had said before, it sounded like the system in the patent was already in use, and some people were using it for evil. Ooh, I'm gonna go in the phone. Whoa. If one of those people was Shogun? No, that was impossible. There was no way that could be true. That fragile old man looked like he could die at any moment. There's no way he could have his own orbital satellite, or was he at the center of some big government project? There's no point in starting a delusion and scaring myself to death with it. Boop. It was clear something had happened, so I decided to look online and find out what. I crawled toward the computer, trying my best to ignore the pain in my head.
あれ
I was sure I'd left the computer on. It should have displayed the Series 10 screensaver, but instead, the screen was black. The power's probably out. Oh wait, no, but your lights are on. I hadn't set it to go into standby mode automatically, so that shouldn't happen, but my mind was still foggy. My whole body felt frail and weak. It took all my strength just to stand up. I grit my teeth to help with the pain. I tried to move the mouse. And it went squeak, squeak, and ran away. Uh-oh! Wrong mouse. Nothing. Next, I tried the power button. Oh, finally. Something around here works. The hard disk started to whirl and click. I stumbled into my computer chair with a thud. While I waited for my computer to boot up, I reached out a desperate hand for my phone, which was still lying on the table. I looked at the time. What time is it?
13時。
Whoa. What time had it been when I got that call? I remember I was looking at information on ISA on 8chan. I tried to think, and the pain just got worse. Thinking too hard. What time? Think. Remember. That's right. It wasn't even noon yet. Which meant...
1時間以上も気絶してた。
Oh, dang. Or had I been sleepwalking and been off wandering somewhere for the past hour? What? How? What? Did you, in your sleep, push all this over again? Where did you go if you sleptwalked? For an hour.
僕は無遊病じゃない。
I shook my head before my brain could fill itself with more negative thoughts. When I did, the aching in my head made me feel like I would pass out. It was like my brain had been replaced by a lump of lead. I looked over at the PC monitor. Uh-oh.
おい、マジで
Oh no, all your stuff on there's gone. Could it be? My hard disk was damaged.
嘘だ。そんなのありえない。あっちゃダメだ。そんなことになったらすべてが終わる。
Sure is. My gigabytes of saved XXX Moe porn. My saved data of my H games. My bookmarks for all my daily browsing. My schedule that told me when to go to school. And more than anything, the most important thing in the world to me, my ESO save data. Was it all gone? I wanted to scream in rage. I wanted to pound my fist at the keyboard. But that wouldn't bring anything back. It would just break my keyboard. I wanted to kick the walls, and more than anything, I wanted to see if I could be... if it could be recovered right away from this very instant. But my whole body was still heavy and slow, and my head still ached. All I could do was lie back in my chair and bite my lip. It was over. My life was over. The loss of my ESO save data meant my life no longer had any meaning. Well, I mean, like, whenever it was, you were talking about, like, starting over, right? Here you go. Get to start over again. Nothing mattered anymore. My life was nothing but ash and dust. Somebody just kill me.
待って、タッキー。
Syria looked up from where she was lying sideways on my desk and gave me an angelic smile.
冷静になりなよ。円数みたいなオンラインのゲームってセーブデータは全部サーバーに保存されてるんじゃない？
Oh my gosh, you're right. Server. Did she mean the game company's server?
だからたとえタッキーの PC が壊れてもナイトハルトッチのデータは消えてないはずっしょ。
Wow, you're so smart. Oh, right. This was something every gamer knew, but I was so out of it that I'd forgotten. Yeah. Okay. Make up whatever excuses you want to make you feel better. Whatever helps you sleep at night. I felt like I'd found one small silver of hope amidst the despair. Way to go, my wife! I hadn't made any backups of my pics or MP3s, so I'd have to give up on those. It wasn't ideal, but I'd have a choice. I'd still want to start reformatting my computer as soon as possible. I needed to see if my ESO data was safe with my own eyes. Of course, for that, I need this headache to go away. The pain didn't feel like it was going away anytime soon. God dang it. Value of death. Whoa. I'll be the news reporter. Reporter? I hardly know her. That's what you say when I'm the reporter. Oh wait, no. Maybe they're reporting on me. I'm in the news. For causing an earthquake. Boop. The big television outside Shibuya Station usually played commercials or promos of famous music artists. Today, however, they were showing a stern-looking newscaster. It was a TV show with the following text at the top of the screen. Intensity 5 earthquake hit Shibuya, at least 200 casualties. Oh no. Earthquakes were nothing special in Japan. There'd been several earthquakes around a 5 on the scale, even around Tokyo. But the more information started to come in, it became apparent that the number of casualties was abnormally high. There was a similar earthquake in 2005, and not a single person died. Compared to that, this was almost unbelievable. People walking. I don't remember the rest of the song. Street lights. This was even more true when you consider that it had happened in Shibuya, the center of new-gen murders. There'd been an earthquake 3 months ago in Shibuya too that had only been a 3 on the scale, but 8 people had died. Was Shibuya cursed? No, it's like the gravity or something. Or God, I don't know. Everybody keeps coming up with different things on why this is. Who knows? Many of the people who saw the first reports of the quake thought that even if they didn't say it, but either way, the first special broadcasts about the earthquake were ready to go almost as soon as it started. Right now, there wasn't a lot of solid information or clear numbers, but the female newscaster was reading out a script. The fire and disaster management agency has confirmed at least 31 deaths and is expected that the number to grow even higher. The cause of the death is currently unknown. There were also reporters of the mysterious white light in Shibuya after the earthquake, a shockwave, and the sky turning white. The cameras at Shibuya scramble across had seen the light, and the big TVs were showing the footage they'd taken where everything had turned white just after the quake. The white had appeared as the earthquake did, and at first it was less white and more an incredibly intense light. The light covered Shibuya in an instant and was so bright that no one could keep their eyes open. Anyone from that generation that lived through the last war would have immediately thought it was a nuclear weapon. In fact, there were those who'd seen the white mushroom cloud rising hundreds of meters in the sky above Shibuya, but it had disappeared almost instantly. What the light was, what caused it, and what it had to do with the earthquake were, for the moment, total mysteries. The strangest thing was that the white sky had gone back to normal within an hour, and once more murky blue color lay above the heads of the people of Shibuya. Oh no, I'm floating in the air. Boop. Boop. There was a tiny crack, just a few millimeters in the asphalt around Dogenzaka Hill. There were also small cracks in the walls at some of the mixed-use buildings around Center Street. Whoa, he got his room together real quick. I'm gonna go sit in the chair. Yeah. My headache hadn't gone away. It took around 2 hours to reform the hard drive. I'd almost passed out several times from the pain. I'd gone to sleep in the middle of something before, but this was my first time really passing out from something. Still, the pain was a lot better than it was 2 hours ago. I drank some soda to quench my thirst and steeled myself to get to work. Oh, Stellid? Yeah. I put the bed back where it was, giving myself a place to stand on the floor. It was hard to consider how weak I was, but if I didn't clean it up, I wouldn't even be able to leave the place. If I was trapped inside and unable to escape during Shogun's next attack, not that I knew for sure if the earthquake was his doing, I'd be doomed. I need a way to get out. But how? There's gotta be a door somewhere. When my OS was finally back, I headed to my computer and installed ESO. I tried logging into Baselard.
やった。ナイトハルトは消えてない。装備とかも全部無事だ。よかった。よかった。
I was so excited that I tried to stand up and raise my fist in the air, but I was too exhausted. Still, I was happy to see that such an important part of me hadn't disappeared after all. Now then. With that done, it was time to see what had happened. Personally, I wanted to apologize, an apology and compensation from whoever was responsible. Alright, Mother Nature, get over here. It felt like an earthquake, but there were so many things that didn't make sense. It looks like... Excuse me. It looked... I looked to see if Grim was playing, but he wasn't. I went to our usual chat room, though it was harder with my bookmarks gone. He wasn't there either. What good was he if he wasn't here when I needed him? Oh my god. I don't know, he's out living his life, I guess. Or he got caught in the earthquake, one of those. Calm down. I ended up checking the top page of Taboo instead. The article read Shibuya casualties over 200? There had been an earthquake from the look of it. It was a 5 on the scale, and there was an awful lot of casualties, though. Supposedly the number was likely to go even higher than 200. The 200 are coming. There were other stuff, too, about the sky above Shibuya had temporarily turned white, or a big mushroom cloud above the city, but nobody seemed to be sure what they had to do with the earthquake. And Achan was talking about it, too. Most comments were things like, Shibuya again, or Shibuya screwed. There were videos uploaded, too, and I could see what the cameras in Scramble Crossing had recorded.
これ、地震だけじゃないよね。
I felt an incredible headache when the quake hit. No, it was way worse than just a headache. It felt like my brain was boiling over. And even 2 hours later, there was still an aching pain and I still felt exhausted.
電子レンジに閉じ込められたら、あんな風になるかもしれない。
Are you saying your room's a microwave? If that was the case, maybe my ideas about this being some kind of electromagnetic, it's a hard word to say. Electromagnetic? We'll just continue on. Electromagnetic wave attack from Shogun weren't just illusions. Bling! When I heard a noise I recognized from my PC, it was the sound of somebody joining the chat room. It might have been Grim. I turned my eyes toward the chat window to ask him the details. Shogun. A scream slipped out of my lips. Holy shit! Why would he show up now? Had he been reading my thoughts after all? My hand was shaking on my mouse. The rest of my body had frozen with fear. Even the pain in my head was gone. I didn't even want to look up the word Shogun, but I couldn't take my eyes off the monitor. I wanted to leave the chat room, but it was like my mind had left my body. I couldn't even move the mouse. I felt the prickling in my neck. I was being watched again. It was the gaze of God. Or maybe it wasn't God, but Shogun looking at me from satellite orbit. I wanted to run away. But where? He could find me anywhere in Japan. Hey, it's been a while. That was the first thing he said. He was talking like he was greeting an old friend. But I never remembered being his friend. I bit my lip and stared at the characters on the screen. But after he spoke, I found myself able to move again. I grabbed my phone. It was just past 3 p.m. She might still be in class, but Remy might be able to help me, believing that was my only choice. I called Remy's number. It was easy to find because it was one of only in a few of my contacts.
助けて、リミ。
Beep beep boop. Do you hate me?
リミ、早く。出て。
It hurt to breathe. I couldn't think. Remy wasn't picking up the phone. The phone kept ringing and ringing. Why? Don't you always show up when I'm in trouble? Why aren't you here now? I'm sending you a present. A present? Oh, just like last time. Oh, what a friend. You're sending me another one of those pictures? And this time, you're going to make me out to be the Neogen killer, aren't you? No, I'm not the killer. I felt like a fish that had flopped onto the land. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. My head felt like it was full of fuzz. My only hope was Remy. I gripped the phone tighter, praying and focusing on everything, on every sound that came out of the receiver. It picked up!
助けて。
留守番電話サービスにおつなぎします。
Fuck! I hope you like it. Voicemail? Oh no! I hung up the phone disappointed. I wrapped my arms around myself to keep steady. My body had started to shake. I was more afraid of Shogun than I thought I was. Of course I was. He was pretending to be... Okay. Don't say that. I don't agree with that. But he was a murderer who'd killed people 5 times. And it was and I was his next target.
助けてよ。
Until now, Remy would always appear at just the right at the right time, but she hadn't picked up the phone. My eyes fell on the fake D-sword in the corner of my room. My only hope. It breaks immediately. On guard! He falls and breaks in half. I picked up I picked it up, clinging on the small hope that it might help somehow. It was just a toy. Ayase had said so, and she'd been sure. But maybe she was wrong. At least I wanted to hope so. If I had a D-sword, I'd be saved. I could even defeat Shogun's attacks. So please. I raised my D-sword I focused on the cutting edge of the blade. Please be real, save me. Oh, I'm a little baby.
ディソード真の姿を現せ
I closed my eyes tight and gripped the pommel hard. Silence. I opened my eyes a little. Nothing had changed, it was just a toy!
くそくそくそくそこの役立たせ
I slammed the toy sword onto the ground and began to pace around the room. It began to piss around the room. Gotta mark my territory. I bit my nails trying to figure out what to do. But the fear threatened to crush me. I couldn't think. Whenever I tried, the pain in my head would come back. Oh, see, you've been thinking too hard. Your brain's been working too much. Just kidding. There was nothing left to do but go back to the PC. Shogun had already left their chat. The only traces of him were the 4 lines he'd left. I didn't even want to see the words he'd written, so I quickly left the chat room myself. I was still shaking. Shogun was taunting me. What was so fun about stalking me like this? Well, I guess it's not fun for you. Did this mean that I'd been chosen as the next victim and Shogun was finally ready to put his plan into action? Or that I was the perfect patsy to take the fall for his murders?
誰か助けて助けてよ
I looked to post-awakening Saritan, pleading for her to save me.
一人は怖いんだ
I didn't want to be alone. I wanted somebody to be by my side. I wanted somebody to protect me.
そうだ学校だ学校へ行けば
Remy was there. Let's get the fuck out over there. Am I allowed to say the F word? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I couldn't handle being alone and scared anymore. I stripped off the sweater I always wore when I was at home, quickly changed into my uniform, and left the base. Here I go. Oh no, if I was quick enough, I would have went through it like that. Let's run up. Whee! This is not a time for jokes. Or is it? The cold wind outside made my headache feel a little better. Shibuya seemed more intense than usual. Maybe it was the earthquake. I could hear the sounds of sirens in the distance. When one stopped, another started. I couldn't tell if there were fire trucks or ambulances, probably both. Yamate Street, just one street over from where I was walking, was at a standstill. Several cars had been in head-on collisions and abandoned where they sat. There was no sign of the drivers. The abandoned cars were blocked on the road, causing a traffic jam. The other drivers were furiously banging on their horns. As I slowly and steadily walked toward the school, a dog ran past me, howling. It was a chihuahua with bloodshot eyes. Its tiny body was running at full speed, dragging a leash behind it. Oh, little puppy dog. I love the little puppies that have like the big old eyes, and their eyes are so too big for their head. I love those dogs. They're so cute. They got really big eyes. Oh, little puppies. Drool is pouring from its mouth. It had gotten separated from its owner? Oh, had it gotten separated from its owner? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. As I watched it distractedly, I stumbled over something and almost fell. There was a crack in the ground. That's what I tripped on. Did the earthquake cause it? Probably. That's probably what caused it. I stopped and looked at the sky. There were several clouds now, lazily traveling through the muddy blue sky. Oh, excuse me. Supposedly, the sky had gone white like an aurora right after the earthquake, but there were no traces left of that now. I'm fixing my chair. Now, yeah. This wasn't Shibuya. Oh, this wasn't the Shibuya I knew. It looked like an earthquake happened, and there was, like, stuff everywhere. I felt really tense and uneasy. It wasn't just an earthquake. It wasn't just the headache. It wasn't just those things. I felt a terrible urge was going to overcome me at any second. Just walking down the street for some reason made me want to kill someone. By the time I reached the school gate, the terror and fear within me had grown even stronger. It felt so cold that my body wouldn't stop shaking. My headache came back. I could see a crowd near the third-year students' building. I looked for Rimi there. Whoa, excuse me. Strangely, they were all looking up at the school building. Yeah, what are they looking up there for, huh?
Oh, Taku.
Mizumi ran up to me. Good, I can ask him where Rimi was.
お前、
Yeah.
今日学校来てたんだな。
What's up? Hello, how's it going?
いや、そんなの今はどうでもいいから。
He looked pale and his expression was deadly serious. It was rare to see Mizumi so badly shaken. What had happened? I don't know, an earthquake, I guess, is what happened.
マジで。やばいよな。あれ。
Bad? What was so bad?
病気だったんだろ。精神病のことがバレて余計におかしくなっちゃったらしいぜ。
さっき飛べるとか言ってたぜ。やべえよ、やばすぎる。
俺人が死ぬとこマジで見てんだけど。
Huh?
きっとグロすぎて最高だぜ。
早く落ちてこねえかな。
I could hear voices around me saying those things. Could it be? A terrible thought ran through my mind. I looked up slowly, where the rest of the students were looking. Oh no! At the edge of the roof was a girl. She was holding the D-sword, just like she had in the concert. She was standing there like she was offering a prayer to God in heaven. It was Ayase Kishimoto. Uh-oh, there's a fire outside.
その体は写真の影に潜む。目には映らない存在。
Ayase Kishimoto was feeling the wind on her body. It was cold, with just the slightest hint of winter. Her expression was pained, and beads of sweat were dripping down her cheeks.
離れようとも離れようとも冷めぬ悪夢は
Suime Academy's roof was surrounded by an almost 2-meter high fence. She was standing in the narrow 30-centimeter space on the outside of it. She'd been here for almost 10 minutes. One more step and she'd fall off the roof of a 40-story... Oh, 40... I was like, 40 stories? That's a big school! of a 4-story building. Below her was a crowd of students watching with bated breath.
やがて剣となりてこの身を切り裂くのだろう。
They called for the police and an ambulance, but perhaps because of the earthquake a few hours ago, no one had arrived yet. The teachers were running around trying to get mats ready if the worst happened.
無関心という名の盾で戦火を免れる人々。
But Ayase stood tall and still, like the chaos below had nothing to do with her. If anything, it looked like she was deliberately cutting herself off from the world below. Her head was tilted up at the sky and her eyes were closed. She looked almost like a young priestess praying to her god. Her body was completely motionless in the slight wind of the roof. An impressive feat of balance considering the sword she was carrying was almost her own height.
神聖なる戦場の敵は心の内の悪意なるもの。
The sword, her D-sword, was flashing with a pale light, like it was having trouble breathing. Ayase's own breath seemed to be in sync with it. The light and her own breathing was pained. She let out a small, soft whisper.
悪意は時として意志を持ち、そしてその姿を表す。
Oh, you know what I just thought of? The people on the ground are telling her to do a flip and stuff, right? Just kidding. The words she whispered were quickly drowned out by the wind. Ayase opened her eyes, turning toward the amber-red sky above the Shibuya high-rise.
この世界は悪意の妄想に満ち溢れている。みんな他人の不幸が大好き。目を閉じても耳を塞いでもダメ。昔からずっと私のそばを離れてくれないわ。
As she whispered, she brought the huge sword to her chest. She embraced it with both arms. Strangely, the sharp-looking blade didn't pierce her skin at all.
帰りたかった。大いなる意志が住むもう一つの世界に。そのために心を切り刻んで全部受け入れたわ。混沌の器としての夢を。
Ayuse's expression twisted with sadness. Tears silently fell from her eyes. The wind blew them from her face and into the sky.
だけどグラジオールの帯同が活発化している。もう時間がないのに見つからないのよ。天国の扉も賢者も導き手も七つの神罰も。黒騎士の伝説は本当なの？歌はもうたくさん歌ったわ。それで足りないって言うならね、大いなる意志よ。
Ayuse slowly spread her arms, as if she was trying to embrace the sky, as if showing herself to some god high in his heaven.
私は飛ぶわ。
The sword's pale pulsation grew in intensity. Ayuse closed her eyes again. A final tear fell from the corner of her eye.
お願い、この器は差し出すから。魂を連れて行って。
And the girl stepped forward without the slightest hesitation. There was nothing left there to support her body.
帰るべき場所へ。
She felt the cold wind gently blow against her cheeks. She looked down beneath her. I'll catch you here. And saw a floating door rising toward her. Beyond it was the sky she sought. Whee! All I could do was watch helplessly. Ayuse spread her hands, and slowly stepped off the roof, like there was an invisible staircase there. Screams and loud murmurs rose from the crowd of gawkers. No longer supported by anything, she fell like a puppet with its strings cut. Everything was happening in slow motion. Ayuse's body fell. It felt so slow, but there was no stopping it. She was going to die. Ayuse was going to die. There was no way I could help her if she fell from that height. She'd die for sure. The ground below her was solid concrete. Her bones would shatter, her organs would be smashed, her brains and dark red blood would be splashed all over the place. If there was at least a flower bed there, if there was soft earth instead of concrete, then maybe she'd survive. I didn't want to see anyone die. I tried to close my eyes, and then I felt it. The prickling at the back of my neck. I turned. Nobody was looking at me. Everybody was looking towards Ayuse or the ground, or at the ground. Whose eyes are those? I heard a noise. The sound of someone hitting the ground. I'd never heard that sound before. It was less loud than I thought it would be.
まさか。
Mizumi was standing next to me watching in shock. He was looking where Ayase had fallen, but instead of showing fear or sorrow, his expression was one of surprise. It wasn't just Mizumi either. Womp womp. that's what everybody watching said. The whole crowd of gawking on am I reading that right? Of gawking onlookers and had fallen silent, like they weren't sure what had just happened.
生きて。
Yippee! Huh? Alive. Ayase was lying on the ground. Had her bones been shattered? I couldn't tell. Had her organs been smashed? I don't know. Her brains weren't splattered all over the place. Her dark red blood wasn't anywhere to be seen either. A soft but clear audible moan escaped her lips. She was alive! She had passed out and wasn't moving at all, but she didn't seem to be injured. The most I could see was a small trickle of blood on her forehead. She'd fallen all the way from the top of the roof, but now she was almost unharmed. She was lying on top of the flower bed.
花壇に。
Had there been a flower bed there? Wow.
予定と結果に大きな違いがあったようだが。
我々は進化への第一歩を踏み出したんですよ。
三桁もの死人が出るなど我々は聞いておらんぞ。
計画に不備があったのかね。
いいえ、お二人にはぜひ人の進化の歴史というものを振り返ってみていただきたいものですね。
進化には多少の犠牲はつきものという点については異論はないよ。
死人のことなどどうでもいい。重要なのは予定と違うということだ。
想定の範囲内ですよ。私の中ではね。
ならばなぜ事前に我々へ連絡せんのだ。情報をコントロールするにはそれなりの下準備が必要なのだぞ。貴様の推挙のために人や金を犠牲にしてきたわけではない。それを忘れるな。
ご安心を。先ほど申しました通り、全ては想定の範囲内。いずれ近いうちに選挙での票集めに苦労することも、強引な勧誘活動を告発される恐れもなくなるでしょう。我々が日本、いや世界を変える日もじきに。
口を慎め。300人委員会への造反が知れれば我らに待っているのは破滅だけだ。
君の役目は計画通りにことを進めることであって、それ以上でも以下でもないよ。
調整は我々がやる。
承知しています。
それで第2世代についての報告を聞こうか。
I'm gonna be one of the guys up here. Haha, now I'm evil. Just kidding. Oh, wait. I'll be on the screen. No, I'll just stay here. Yeah.
お二人にも満足していただける仕上がりですよ。ノア2。
Be what? Be what? Be what? Finish your sentence! What if he did that? He's like, it'll be, and then he walks away. I ran at top speed from school to the park. By the time I got there, I was too out of breath to move another inch. My lungs were in desperate need of oxygen. As I gasped for air, I took a quick glance around the park. There was nobody here. The people I was afraid of, Shogun and Yua, were nowhere to be seen. Relieved, I decided to catch my breath. It was almost... It was almost evening. The sky was slowly shifting from blue to the color of twilight. I only meant to stay a while. The park was calm and quiet as ever, as if the craziness at school never even happened. In the end, Aisei's jump was treated as an attempted suicide. She was carried off in an ambulance. I had no way of knowing what had happened to her after that. Afterward, I'd given up on trying to find Rimi and ran all the way to ran all the way here instead. I couldn't get what I'd just seen out of my head. When Aisei had jumped, when Aisei had fallen, I was sure she was dead. But she'd survived. I didn't know how, but she survived. She was breathing. She hadn't looked injured at all. A fall from that height should have killed anyone, but she had miraculously survived. Because she'd fallen right on top of a soft flower bed. But that was impossible. Physically impossible. There'd been no flower bed there. Right until the moment she'd hit the ground, it had been an asphalt parking lot. A bunch of the teachers' cars had been parked there. So, where'd that flower bed come from? Did I do that? I remember having a delusion that she might survive if there was a flower bed below. But that didn't mean... Could a delusion that only lasted an instant like that really become reality? Maybe I really did have some kind of special power. I'd already seen something similar happen when Aisei split into two people before. Could I even do something as incredible as making a flower bed appear out of nowhere? Even without a D-sword? And that flower bed was still there after she'd fallen too. When the teachers ran over to her, they'd left footprints in the dirt. The flowers. I think they were the same flowers as the ones in the courtyard. The courtyard had snapped at the stems when the EMT had walked over them. It was probably still there, too. My delusion had become reality, and stayed that way. It hadn't disappeared like the other Aisei, and what was more, everyone had accepted it as natural. No one had wondered why there was a flower bed there. Had I done that?
Oi.
Oh. I heard a sharp voice calling out from behind me. I turned around just in time to see a hand reach out and grab me by the collar. Before I even had time to resist, I was slammed hard into a piece of playground equipment. Yeah, get him! I hit my back hard and moaned in pain. Yippee!
お前だな。
Probably,
あ
I
の
don't
花壇
know.
を作ったの。
Oh yeah. It was Senna who had attacked me out of nowhere. She was yanking my collar hard too. I couldn't breathe. I tried flailing my arms around, but she didn't let go at all. There was an intense light in her eyes that might have been murderous. I shivered, shaking my head frantically, thinking she was going to kill me.
とぼけるな。
Okay. Senna's hot breath tickled my cheek. Ooh. Her face was so close, I worried she might bite me. Why was this woman so violent and scary? Save me, somebody save me! Oh, little baby.
天聖振興会と関係があるのか。
Now that sounds like a cult. The cosmic what?
その力を誰から教わった？
Tap myself. Tee. Zena's voice sounded tense. I'd never heard her like that before. But I didn't know what she meant. All I could do was practically shake my head. Whoa, 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 whoa.
あんなのありえない。理想度なしでエラーを現実にするなんて。お前はその力のことを誰に教わったんだ？誰からだ？答えろ！
Nobody had taught me anything, but if anyone had, it was... I couldn't breathe. I was going to suffocate. I was passing out, dying. I couldn't stay awake. Just before I passed out, Senna suddenly let go of me. I collapsed where I stood. I coughed and tried to force as much air into my lungs as I could. What the hell was going on? Was Senna my enemy after all? Was she working with Shogun too? If so, I had to get out of here.
本当に天聖振興会とは関係ないんだな。
What the hell was the Cosmic Church of Divine Light? I'd never even heard of them. Senna saw my confusion and looked momentarily annoyed, but finally stopped glaring at me. She sighed.
悪かった。関係ないならいい。
She didn't sound apologetic at all as she turned to leave. It looked like she didn't intend to hurt me after all. If that was the case, then... I worked up my courage and spoke. I thought she'd ignored me, but she stopped and turned back. She was still frowning, but at least she looked like she would listen to me.
力って何なの？
Senna knew something. She asked if I was the one who created the flower bed. Everybody else there ended up thinking that the flower bed had been there from the start, but for some reason Senna knew differently.
さっきの花壇どうなって？
お前が妄想したんだろ？
My delusion? Yeah, it was, but...
妄想は現実にすることが可能だ。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。つまりエラーを現実として認識させる。
でも 視界に映すだけじゃ、それって幻でしかないよ。
An illusion wasn't real. It didn't exist. If that flower bed was an illusion, Ayase would be dead right now. Ayase had survived because it wasn't an illusion, but a real flower bed.
世界の仕組みは3つの数字で全て説明できる。0と1、そしてマイナス1。ディソードはそのマイナス1を生み出すためのショートカットになる。だがお前はディソードなしでそれをやった。
She was starting to go off the rails again. I don't know, she's telling you how all this is working. No, but what Senna was saying wasn't just some girl's crazy rambling. The VR technology patent was real. At least maybe Senna knew something after all. Yeah! She does.
いいか、これ以上エラーを作るな。それがお前のためだ。それと他にもエラーを見たら教えろ。
Her words sounded almost like a threat, and then she turned away.
目に見えるものだけを信じられることがどんなに幸せか。
Senna whispered that, and then, this time she left the park. Wow. There was silence on the floor of AH Tokyo General Hospital, where the psychiatric wards were located. The surgery and emergency wards were supposedly dealing with a rash of unexplainable comas that had started to occur after the earthquake. But the psych ward had nothing to do with any of that. If anything, they'd finished up their outpatient exams a little earlier than scheduled. A few days from now, they might have a flood of people experiencing PTSD from the earthquake, but for today at least, there was nothing left for the outpatient staff to do. Oh, excuse me. Shino Hazuki, one of the nurses, had been working here since last night's night shift, and belatedly realized she'd barely taken a break the whole time. She was hungry too. The ward was lost. The ward had lost one of its doctors the other day. He'd been murdered horribly in one of the New Gen incidents, and his replacement hadn't come yet, so now there weren't enough people. But all that was left for the day were a few minor tasks. She could hand them over to the night staff, and she'd finally be able to go home. She slapped her cheeks with her hands, telling herself to just hang in there a little longer, and began to quickly walk across the lobby. Suddenly, she felt a gaze from behind, a prickling at the back of her neck. She shivered. She spun around out of sheer reflex, but there was nothing there but a quiet, empty hallway.
Huh?
Oh.
看護師さん。
Jump scare. Hazuki was startled. The voice had come from completely the opposite direction she'd expected. She thought the lobby was empty, but there was no one person left. She called out Oh, hold on. He called out to her when he'd seen her. It was a man with a handsome, if still young face. His puller was pallor? Pallor. His pallor was healthily. Healthy? And he certainly didn't look sick. Oh! Healthy. I'm just gonna read that again. It was a man with a handsome, if still young face. His pallor was healthy, and he certainly didn't look sick.
あなたは
You're not sick! Get the fuck out of here!
ちょっと時間もらっていいっすか？
はあ
どうもっす。
The man gave an embarrassed smile and then suddenly grabbed her by the arm and pulled her from the lobby towards the stairs. The man Mamoru Suwa took out a small black book from his pocket and showed it to her. He flipped it open and showed her his police ID. Ooh, I'm gonna be in the window. I'm the open window maniac! But this window's closed. I wonder if I can open it from here. Then I can maniac. He stopped next to the stairs and looked around carefully to make sure nobody was nearby.
それでお話って
Nothing, I just wanted to show you my ID. She still had work to do and was feeling a little uneasy. Suwa seemed to realize this, so without wasting any more time, he took out a photo from his pocket and showed it to her.
この少年に見覚えないっすか？
It was a photo of a listless-looking Takumi Nishijo. Because of the nature of her work, Hazuki prided herself on being good with faces, and she nodded without even really thinking about whether it was okay to answer or not.
西條拓海。間違いないっすか？
ええでも
Her hesitation was natural. Giving anyone, even the police, information about a patient was strictly against the rules. Yeah. Buzz off, Cap. But of course, Suwa had known that when he'd talked to her, his casual attitude suddenly vanished and a serious look appeared on his face. He dropped his voice as he spoke.
頼みがあるんすけど。西條拓海のカルテ、こっそり見せてもらえないっすか？
This guy's looking to do something illegal.
そんなの無理ですできません
You're putting both your jobs on the line.
とある事件に関わる重要なことなんすよ。
Well, like, but don't you need, like, some kind of warrant? And I also don't know what, like, medical history has to do with, like, murders, right? Hazuki wasn't sure what to do. She turned to leave, but Suwa got in front of her and blocked her.
困ります
Yeah.
迷惑はかけないっす。だから頼みますよ。
Finally, he got on his knees and began to beg.
やめてください本当に無理なんです
これ以上犠牲者を出さないためにも。
What could she do to make him give up? Hazuki couldn't come up with anything, so she just stood there helplessly. After Senna left, I spent a while just standing there in shock, and then quickly dashed back home. Fortunately, I didn't run into Shogun or Yua. In the end, I'd come back without ever finding Rimi. After the earthquake and what happened with Ayase, I was sure they'd sent the students home early for that day. It was even possible Rimi might show up here soon. Until then, I'd just have to sit here quaking in fear, I guess. I decided I would take my mind off the fear by using my new functional computer to gather information. Oh, now functional. I was like, it's not new. Then I saw my phone where I'd left it next to my monitor. The light on it was flashing. I opened it and saw I received a message. I thought it might be from Rimi, but... More. Let's read this. Something amazing happened at school today. Somebody tried to jump off the roof. I was so shocked and scared. Sob, I wonder if they're okay. Were you at school when it happened? That earthquake was really crazy, huh? My head really hurt. I wonder why. Nana Iko? Who's that again? Nana. Oh, Nanami. I guess to Nanami, nothing that had happened today was that big of a deal. Lucky her. Of course I didn't answer. I decided to look up anything I could to find Ayase. I still couldn't get to Phantasm's official homepage. The media didn't have anything to say about her either. To be fair, the earthquake was probably far bigger news than an attempted suicide by the vocalist of an indie band. Right now, I had no way of knowing if she was okay. There was a lot more information about the earthquake published now than there'd been when I looked last. The number of dead had climbed to 118, and there was over 300 injured too. I couldn't believe there were three-digit numbers of fatalities. The epicenter of the quake was Shibuya, and the damage was limited to Shibuya to an extent that was surprising. The quake itself was intensity 5. There was also an article saying that almost every piece of magnetic media in Shibuya had been destroyed. The thought of the tragedy that had befallen me happened to other people made the frustration and anger I'd felt come roaring back. It was a true tragedy. My H-game saved... Oh, is this the tragedy you're talking about? My H-game saved data, my porn collection. They would never come back. Still, it didn't seem like an ordinary earthquake. An ordinary earthquake wouldn't have killed 118 people. The internet had noticed how odd that was too, and there was a lot of discussion. Oh, this place again. With all these people. Damn it. They're all having fun talking about it. Let's see what things they're saying. You think whose eyes are those caused the earthquake? What? Way to go. Whose eyes are those? 11. Makes sense. That explains how 118 people died in a wimpy-ass intensity 5 earthquake. I thought back to what had happened during the earthquake. I'd been hit by an incredible shock. It was an intensity. Oh my god. It was a sensation I'd never felt before. My head was boiling over or exploding. One of those. That could easily kill someone, I thought. I looked at what was on TV too, not just the internet. My PC had a TV tuner built in it. That was why I didn't need a TV in my room.
現在までに死者118名、重軽傷者300名以上と非常に多くの犠牲者が出ていることが分かっています。さて、渋谷の駅前と中継がつながったようです。島谷さん、現地の様子はいかがですか？
Oh wait, it's probably gonna change. Buzz.
2005年に同じように震度5の地震が東京であったんですよ。その時はゼロで、なぜ今回は100名以上の被害者が出ているんですか？
被害者の数は震度に比例するわけじゃないんです。そこには様々な要因がありまして。亡くなった方の死因や病院に運ばれた負傷者の容体については未だ詳しい情報が入っておりません。また渋谷区を中心に磁気メディアが全壊してしまっていることについて今日は専門家にお越しいただいております。
地質学産業研究所より林原泰造先生、財団法人地質調査環境センターより小沢幹人先生にお越しいただきました。
林原さん、今回の地震について磁気メディアに深刻な被害が出た原因というのはどういうところにあるんでしょうか？
まず知っておいていただきたいのは、渋谷区あたりの地下200メートル付近には磁鉄鉱、つまり天然の磁石が多く埋蔵されている地層があるということですね。地層の分類としては火成岩層ですが、私たちはこのエリアを磁鉄鉱の谷、マグネタイトバレーと呼んでいます。地中にある磁石の谷ですね。文字通りかなり大規模な岩脈なんですよ。ここにですね、今回の地震のような大きな刺激が加わったとするならば、その影響で地上に存在する磁生態、主に磁気メディアの持つ記録部に、致命的なダメージを与えてもおかしくはないんです。
何をバカな。
Preposterous.
小沢先生は別の意見ですか？
確かに渋谷の地下には巨大なマグネタイトの岩脈があることは事実です。ですが、磁石と呼ぶにはあまりにも微弱なこのマグネタイト群にはですね、地上の磁気モーメントや安定磁場を崩すほどの力はないというのが通説になっています。実際ですね、過去にも震度5の地震は何度も発生しています。過去のそれらの地震では今回のような被害はなかった。なので、原因は別にあるのではないかと考えるのが妥当だと思います。
そうは言うがね、今回の異常な犠牲者数については、ただの地震では片付けられない何かがあるのが事実なわけであり、渋谷にいた人のほとんどが頭痛がしたって訴えていることからも、間違いなく磁鉄鉱が関係している可能性が。
地場ごときで100人も殺せると主張するおつもりですか？それではここで CM です。
結局詳しいことは何もわからずか。
The media was ignoring the huge white cloud that appeared in Shibuya and the reports of the sky turning white. They'd been reporting them at first, but now it was like they were being treated as if they never happened. I felt really creeped out. The after hours entrance to AH Tokyo General Hospital had a place at the side for ambulances to park when they arrived with emergency patents. There were 2 ambulances there now, and the EMTs were unloading patients to carry them into the hospital. A doctor in a light green surgical gown and a middle-aged head nurse were giving them orders. There were several patients sitting around the entrance waiting to be seen, and this was clear that the doctor's having trouble keeping up. There were 2 types of patients coming in today. The first were injured, who had blood dripping from their arms or foreheads, and their faces were twisted in pain. They were painful to look at, but they were being ignored for now. Priority was being given to the patients that were being brought in unconscious, but without any external wounds. An awful lot of people coming in after the earthquake fit that description. The symptoms had never been seen in an earthquake before. As of now, the doctors had no idea what had caused them to lose consciousness. Yeah. And another ambulance arrived, its loud siren blazing. The technician got out of the ambulance and yelled at the doctor, who asked him for the patient's description. That was the only explanation. Yeah, okay, but why? Why is this one the priority? Most doctors would have complained. With all that was going on, the normal answer was being told how to prioritize your own patients would be, go screw yourself. But surprisingly, the doctor and head nurse both nodded and helped unload the stretcher from the ambulance. Lying on the stretcher was Ayase Kishimoto. She was unconscious and moaning softly. The doctor and the techs quickly took the stretcher inside, ignoring the glares of the injured around them. Standing a bit away from them, by the main entrance of the hospital, was a girl. She was watching them intently. Rimi Sakihara narrowed her eyes and bit her lip.
Kishimoto-san.
The earthquake was concerning, but Shogun was a much bigger deal to me right now. My headache was gone, but the fear was growing stronger and stronger inside me, and being alone was making me feel more and more depressed. There was still no word from Rimi. I tried calling, but she didn't pick up. Until now, Rimi would always appear right when I needed her, and tell me everything would be all right. Why didn't she come for me today? She'd said she'd always be there for me. I gritted my teeth and devoted myself to setting up my computer. First, I had to reinstall my email software. I'd only set it up once when I first got the machine, and never touched it again, so I didn't remember any of the settings. I had to start trying to figure out where the software and the manual even were. It wasn't that big of a job, but before too much time passed, I realized I was covered in sweat. Several times I'd gotten so annoyed I almost gave up. But still, after an hour of work, 30 minutes of which was spent searching for the manual, I had my email back. A email. I looked to see if I had any new messages.
メールだよボケナス
I finally heard Suryuten's voice again. Hearing it made me just feel better. Like all my hard work had paid off. I had 8 new messages. All of them were spam. My husband cheated on me. Whose eyes are those? Now recruiting, only 20 spots available. I had fun yesterday. Your next quarter's tuition. Mind-blowing sex. I'm a pervert. Be my sex friend? Oh my gosh. But amongst them was one that seemed a little unusual. Was it my husband cheated on me? Because they don't do that. Just kidding. And had a slightly unusual name. Fort Sunder. I let out a sharp moan. What the hell was this? Some prank of Nanami's? It was an awful prank, if so. I felt like punching her in the face. No, wait. Nanami couldn't have emailed me. She never contacted me through my computer's email address. When she wanted to talk to me, she used to text. She just... like she had just a moment ago. I'd never even given her my PC email address. Was this just a coincidence? Sheer chance? Nanami was a pretty common name. Wait, where? On the... Oh, okay. And whose eyes are those was common now. You heard it everywhere you went. I could easily have seen it being used as a title of a spam email. I decided to see what was inside.
結構な長文だな。さっきはチャットで話ができて楽しかったよ。ちなみに送信者の名前はダミー。僕の名前は将軍だよ。え？
He's in the walls. Shogun? No way!
将軍が僕のメアド知ってるはずが。
But what if Shogun could read my mind? If he could, maybe it would be easier for him to find my email address.
嘘でしょ?
What was this? I read the whole thing. Its overly friendly tone made me shiver. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I have the hiccups right now. I'm glad ISA survived. I was planning on using her as a victim in the next New Gen case, but I decided a suicide would serve my purpose just as well. I'm impressed I'm impressed with you though, Takumi. You've got a new high score. Very impressed. You really are special. Now then, it's Nanami Nishijo's turn. I'm hoping to make this one especially dramatic since she's your sister. Shibuya's in a nasty mood right now because of the quake. It's up to you to bring this moving climax. This moving climax will make everyone feel so much better. It's getting hard to finish all these It's getting hard to finish all these quests unarmed, isn't it? You're a hero. Don't you want a hero's sword? Don't worry, I'll help you out. He was crazy. What was all this? It's time to begin the quest to save Nanami. Come to the roof of O Front at 9 p.m. tonight. You'll be on something so heroically. P.S. Did you get my present? Quest, high scores. It was like he thought it was a video game.
僕が勇者なんかじゃない。ナイトハルトじゃない。
The last sentence is, you'll be on TV, so dress heroically. It was finally my turn to be killed. I wanted to run, to get out of here. Remy, I had to get Remy to protect me. Why couldn't I get a hold of her? Had she been hurt in the earthquake? But Mizumi hadn't said a thing. I'd met him earlier. I took my phone to see if there was any missed calls or messages from her.
来てない。
Where was Remy? Then I gasped. The inbox on my phone, it had the message I had just gotten from Nanami. Was Nanami okay? I reread the email that Shogun sent. Now it's Nanami Nishijo's turn. It's time to begin the quest to save Nanami. What did that mean? I needed to call her right away. I opened my phone's contact list. There were only 3 numbers on it. Home, Remy's phone, and Nanami's phone. Whenever we met, Nanami was always irritatingly insistent that I call her. It wouldn't hurt to finally call her once in a while, right? I just hoped she picked up, because if she didn't, I was never calling her again. Even if she'd gotten hurt in the earthquake and couldn't pick up or something, I didn't care. I pulled up her number and pressed a dial. I put the phone to my ear. There was no answer. The phone wasn't even ringing. I knew there was always a little pause. There was a little pause when you called someone on a cell phone, but now the silence seemed to run on for an eternity, and every passing instant I got more and more irritated.
早くしてよ。よし、繋がった。
Huh? Huh? What was this sound? I pulled up the phone. I pulled the phone away from my ear. There was a melody I didn't recognize, coming from somewhere in the room. Was that a cell phone ringtone? Whose phone was ringing? From the timing, it had to be... I shook my head. I didn't know what ringtone Nanami used on her phone, which meant there was no proof that the melody I was hearing was from Nanami's phone. None. I got scared and put the phone back to my ear. Nanami hadn't picked up yet. Come on, pick up! Pick up already! I just have to go home. Yeah, that was the fastest way. I ignored the ringtone in my room and hung up. It stopped. The mysterious ringtone had disappeared. My room was suddenly quiet. There was a tiny little bit of lag, but the ringing had stopped. Almost at the same moment I'd hung up.
なんで
I got even more confused. I didn't know what to do. All I could do was look around my room. I say, look around, but I wasn't looking at much of anything. I was just moving my head. My mind was completely blank. No thoughts going on behind these eyes. I called Nanami again. I told myself that maybe this time I wouldn't hear the ringtone. This time she might pick up. My hopes were dashed without mercy. The cheerful melody had started up again within 2 seconds of me calling her. There was no doubt about it now, and I couldn't avert my eyes from reality anymore.
この部屋にある
Nanami's phone was somewhere in my room. Why? Had Nanami found it, or... P.S. Did you get my present? No. That had to be a lie. There was no way this could be real. I lowered my phone slowly. I couldn't even blink. My throat was parched. But still, I looked for the source of the sound. This time, I looked around slowly. Slowly, my eyes landing on each and every object scattered about the room. I hated myself violently for not cleaning up before. If this place wasn't such a mess, I'd be able to tell where it was coming from immediately. Where was the sound coming from? It's the present. What's in the box? This box. The sound was coming from inside this box. It was the size of 2 HK boxes side by side. Is this how you measure everything? That's what's gotta be in there. It's gotta be 2 H games. I thought it was from something I'd bought online, but there was nothing printed on it. There was no address label either. But it was sealed tightly with tape. Had this box always been here? Did it fall off the bed in the earthquake?
Yeah.
I'd never seen this box before. I always opened anything I ordered online right away, too. If it was something I'd sold at an online auction, I'd have shipped it off right after I wrapped it up. I thought that maybe Nanami had brought me some food or something, but I didn't remember her bringing me a box this big, which meant that in an hour or so when I'd been at school, someone had been here. Wait, hold on, is this carpet? He's got carpet in this little container room. Wow. I'm sending you a present. I hope you like it. My heart started pounding faster. I quickly checked the lock on the door. A cold chill ran down my back. I didn't remember locking the door when I staggered out of the base earlier today. I'd never even thought about it. I barely even been conscious thanks to that terrible stabbing headache. The door had been completely unlocked for the hour I'd been gone. Anybody who wanted to could have come in. Had Shogun been here? Had he come into my home? I looked at the box again. The melody was still playing. Nanami's phone was inside. I gingerly picked up the cardboard box. What's in there? It was heavy. It was far too heavy to hold just a phone. It felt like it weighed about the same as a 50 milliliter bottle of juice. I hesitated to open it. Something felt very, very wrong.
こんなの開きたくないよ。
But I couldn't think of a way to avoid it. And I was worried about Nanami too. She was a little brat, but she was still my sister. Nanami's phone was inside this box, which meant that someone had stolen it from her. It's time to begin the quest to save Nanami. That's what Shogun's email had said. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30 p.m. I had just an hour and a half until the designated time. Maybe Nanami was in danger? I had to open it. The sensation of my heart pounding wouldn't go away. The sweat was pouring off my forehead. I wiped the sweat away with the back of my hand and let out a moan as I started to strip off the tape.
やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ、やだ。
I whispered in prayer as I opened the lid. Inside the box was a lump of aluminum foil. They'd even put packing peanuts around it. Holding back from terror, I looked inside the box, but there was no sign of the phone. The melody was coming from within the foil. Sweat got in my eyes and stung. I realized my whole body was covered in sweat. Please, just make all this stop happening. Why was I the only one this ever happened to? I felt like crying and complaining to somebody. I looked at Sariten for words of encouragement, but she was silent. My head was so full of terrible delusions that I couldn't even imagine her speaking to me. I was so tense that my mind was on the verge of shorting out, but the cheerful melody of the phone kept driving me on.
あげるぞ。
I steeled my nerves and grabbed the edges of the foil with my fingers. My little fingy. I closed my eyes, held my breath, and ripped off the foil. The melody was louder and clearer than ever. I was afraid to open my eyes. I tried to catch my breath, but it wasn't working. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing to be worried about. This was just some prank of Nanami's, right? Any second now, she was going to walk in and yell, "Gotcha!" Yeah. That was what would happen. It was the only explanation. If she came in, I was going to scream at her and then I'd never speak to her again. That's right. Tell me I'm right. Nanami? I couldn't keep my eyes closed anymore. Staring into the darkness was too much for me. The fact that I couldn't see it was just making the awful delusion worse. So I slowly opened my eyes and saw... Oh my goodness! What I saw was a hand. A small, cleanly severed hand. It was holding the same model phone I had, and on the wrist.
へえ、かわいいバングルじゃん。じゃあさ、これナナにちょうだい。ひひ、お兄どう？似合う？
A bangle! Its yellow band was stained with red blood. Buzz.
ここからは少し専門的な話になりますが。
君は元医師だろ。患者に説明するように分かりやすく簡潔に話してもらえるとありがたい。
Oh, well, I didn't do that when I had the patients either, so I don't know if I could do that. Ooh, just kidding.
努力しましょう。さて、人間の脳の中にある何億という脳細胞。それらは細い神経の糸を出し合って、それぞれに手をつないでいるような格好をしています。
Aww. Well, isn't that like a sweet way to think of that?
しかし実際には各神経の先端にある手と手の間にはごくわずかな隙間が空いているんですよ。脳細胞に情報の電気信号が送り出されると、その神経の手のひらから極小の物質ドーパミンがボールのように飛び出してきます。それは反対側の神経の手のひらにキャッチされ、再度情報の電気信号に変わってまた隣の脳細胞に伝わっていく。脳の構造は簡単に言うとその繰り返しです。我が社が開発した第2世代ノア2はこの部分に干渉することで人に疑似的な映像を見せることを可能としました。
ホログラムのようなものか。
あるいは幻覚かな。
幻覚の方が近いでしょう。ですが明確に違う点として、その疑似的映像は 確かな存在感があるものとして映るということです。人間の目、視覚というのは実に興味深いものです。視野は単眼の場合、鼻側60度、耳側100度程度、両眼の重複視野は120度で、周辺視野を含めれば180度から200度もの視界が広がっているんです。その一方で、以前ご説明したようなデッドスポットもまた存在する。脳にとって視覚とは最もつながりの深い部位です。脳はそのおよそ 80% を視神経情報の処理のためだけに使っている。
その点については300人委員会も注目しておる。
人間の視覚にはまだまだ謎が多い。世界中で研究テーマとして上がっているものだけでも1000以上に及ぶからね。
アメリカで数年前に発行された行政命令、機密の人体研究に対する保護の強化というのは委員会による圧力ですか？
圧力ではない。これは選定だよ。
300人委員会はどこの馬の骨とも知れん研究者がこの分野に足を踏み入れることを歓迎せん。当然ながらアメリカだけではなく世界各国にも同様の指示は出ている。
我が国は随分自由のようですね。私のような人間を放置しているぐらいですから。
勘違いしてはいかんな。何のために我々がいると思っている？
君はすでに選定済みなんだよ。
Selected.
だからこそ君には何よりも成果が求められている。
300人委員会をも出し抜けるような成果というわけですね。
うかつな口を聞くなと言っておる。
今はまだ我らの真の目的を誰にも悟られてはならない。たとえ委員会に対してもね。
これは失礼。
説明を続けたまえ。
ノア2が生み出した疑似的映像は視神経パルスに変換して電磁波として照射します。対象の皮膚や頭蓋骨を貫通して直接ドーパミン受容体、つまり先ほどの説明でいうところの手のひらにキャッチさせるのです。そしてデッドスポットへと最終的に落とし込まれる。特に G レートの高いエリアの人々は空中の映像パルス信号を敏感にキャッチします。混乱した脳はその疑似的映像を現実だと判断することになります。これが人間の視界の中に無から有を作り出すメカニズムです。ノア2を用いれば街中のどこを見ても先生の選挙ポスターだらけなどという芸当も容易というわけです。ただしあくまで人々のバイオリズムが高い状態であることが条件ですが、
幻覚によって意志を誘導するか。沈黙の兵器とシステムは同じというわけだね。条件さえ満たせば対象の見ている世界を自在に書き換えることができる。
それはギガロマニアックスと同等の力ということか？
その通りです。ノア2は機械仕掛けのギガロマニアックスと言ってもいいでしょう。理論値通りに稼働を始めればギガロマニアックスたちと同等、いや近い将来それ以上の能力を再現できるようになります。
だが効果の有効範囲はどうなっている？電磁波は垂れ流しなのかね？
それでは 汎用性という点がおろそかになる。我々は無差別な洗脳を望んでおるわけではない。対象は選定できなければ無意味だぞ。
ご心配なく。そのために機能因子を用意してあります。モニターをご覧ください。
What's on the monitor? Whoa, people!
なんだこの小汚い連中は。
我が社ではポーターと呼んでいます。言い換えればマインドコントロールのための部隊といったところでしょうか。彼らが背負っているリュックの中にはノア2のパルス波を送受信するためのポートが入っています。ポートは信号を受け取るとリモートで周囲へと放出するわけです。
歩く端末というわけか。それならば有効範囲の制限などないに等しいな。
限定的使用も問題ないことになるね。
状況は理解した。貴様は引き続き計画を続行したまえ。
ただし300人委員会に悟られるような言動はくれぐれも慎むよう。
あとは何人犠牲を出そうと構わん。
ご理解いただきありがとうございます。それではポーターとして使える人材を提供していただきたいです。
手配しよう。
それと引き続き先生方にはメディアのコントロールをお願いいたします。すべては我ら3人の目指す理想のために。
Whoa!
タッキー。ねえ、タッキー。聞こえてるっしょ？
うん。聞こえてるよ、セーラタン。
あのさ、もうこのゲーム終わりにしようよ。
ゲーム？
ナナミッチはタッキーの大事な妹だってのはわかるけど、きっともう手遅れだよ。
Thanks for the words of encouragement.
そんなことないよ。
だって腕を切り落とされちゃったらさ、普通出血多量で死んじゃうっしょ。ゲームだったら違うかもだけど。
なんでナナミが。
もうさ、ゲームオーバーなんだよ、きっと。
Oh no, game over. Oh no.
早くゲームをやめないと、もっとたくさん人が死んじゃう。
でもセーラタンだって悪いやつと戦ってるじゃないか。
だって私はアニメだもん。
Yeah. Does make sense. I stuffed the Seri-tan figure in my uniform pocket.
助けなきゃ。僕が。
I brought Seri-tan to keep me safe. Normally, I'd never walk around with a figure in my pocket. It might get damaged after all. Letting his wife be destroyed is the worst thing an otaku can do. But now, I didn't have it in me to follow my own policy. I needed something to keep me sane. Of course, I might be dead by this time tomorrow. I looked down at Seri-tan once more. Her head was poking out of my pocket. It It helped me keep the tears from pouring out. Then somebody slammed into me from behind. I staggered forward. I looked back at the Daikun-type man looking at me, annoyed. But he disappeared into the crowd without saying another word. I looked around. I was in Shibuya Scramble Crossing. It was hard to believe it was 9 p.m. on a weekday, particularly only a few hours after an earthquake where over 100 people had died. There was an ocean of people around me. Just waiting for the light made me feel like I was going to suffocate. There were people everywhere, on all sides of me. I didn't know why, but the media was out here too. There were people with big TV cameras stepping out onto the road, blocking traffic. The big lights they used for filming were everywhere, and they were blindingly bright. Several people who looked like newscasters were rapidly speaking into cameras. They go blah, 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 blah. They were talking so fast you couldn't even understand what words they were saying. There were a few officers in uniform trying to keep the pedestrians and media out of the road, but the whole situation was out of control. The road was almost completely shut down from all the people on it. There was an event or something. Was there an event or something going on a day like this? At this time of night? How could they hold something like this on a day where over 100 people had died? Did they not have common decency to call it off? And why were the media along with them? If it's people like this, Japan was doomed. Not that it mattered to me.
助けなきゃ。僕が助けなきゃ。
Shogun had sent me the Zero Front, a building right in the middle of Scramble Crossing. It was the one with the Tatsuya and the Starbeaks. I hadn't actually planned on going on my own, but I couldn't get a hold of Rimi at all. And the police might still think I was the new Gen Killer, so I couldn't go to them either. I was running out of time as I tried to figure out what to do. In the end, I got so worried about Nanami that I came here alone with Siritan, close at hand for protection. Whoa, escalator! I think escalators are neat. Probably because I don't see them all the time. I worked my way through the crowd and inside Zero Front. It was pretty crowded inside too, but I was too distracted to even care. All I could do was think about Nanami's safety. I headed up the escalator to the floor above. There were big windows at the Starbeaks that let you see out into the square below. When I looked out of them, I could see just how many people were in Scramble Crossing. It felt like everyone in the crowd was having their arms or was waving their arms or jumping up and down. An ocean of dark-haired heads roiled and bobbed beneath me. It was way brighter than it had been when I was down there. I started to wonder if all the light down below were facing toward the building I was in. Every time I took the escalator another floor up, my heart started pounding faster and faster. I took out my phone and checked the time. It was 9:01 p.m. If Shogun got mad that I was late and killed Nanami, I shivered and ran up the escalator, pushing past the people in front of me. Halfway up, I switched to using the elevator and took it to the top floor. I didn't know how I was going to get to the roof from there, but I wandered around for a bit, trying to make sure nobody saw me, and eventually found an emergency staircase. I managed to get to the roof without anyone saying anything to me. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be. The wind was blowing hard on the roof. It felt strangely warm. Considering it was the end of October, I realized quickly that it wasn't a natural wind, but the air blowing from the air conductors on top of the building. I fastened the button on the pocket on my pocket so Seiru-tan wouldn't blow away.
ありがとう、ボケナス。
どういたしまして。
Hearing Seiru-tan's voice in my brain made me feel a little better. As long as I had Seiru-tan with me, I wasn't scared. That's what I told myself over and over again. That said, it was awfully dark up here. The only light was the neon Zero Front sign, which I was now seeing from behind. And the neon light on the other buildings were so bright that it was hard to see around me. If somebody was hiding up there, I'd never be able to find them. Just by a minute. It's not like you're my boss or anything. Oh, somebody suddenly spoke. My heartbeat had been started to slow, but now it flew back up to top speed. I looked around, but it was too dark to see where the speaker was. I heard a sound. It was the cracking sound I heard so many times before. This time, I slowly turned my eyes on the darkness in front of me. I could barely make out the outline of a wheelchair's wheels against the light.
Huh?
Shogun.
ようこそ、匠君。
Why do you sound like this? The voice was friendly, as if it said my name. It made me feel sick. I didn't want to talk to Shogun. I was scared. I wanted to run away from here right now.
じゃあ、逃げちゃおうよ。このままじゃタッキー殺されちゃう。
But Nanami...
君はすごく勇気のある人だ。ちゃんと一人で来てくれるとは。
Almost by myself. I have my figurine with me.
ありがとうと言っておくよ。
Wait, something was wrong with this Shogun. Something was different than before. Right, his voice wasn't right.
その声。
声なんてただの空気の振動でしかないよ。
どう聞こえるか、その場の条件によって変わる。
そうだろ？
What was going on? His voice was changing more and more. Was he using some kind of machine? Maybe he didn't want me to identify his voice at this point. At this point, why bother? And what was he saying? And what he was saying didn't make any sense either.
タッキーを混乱させようとしてるんさ。油断しちゃダメ。誰の言葉も信じちゃダメ。
That's right, Seiru-tan was right. Seiru-tan was always right. Always. I put my hand over the pocket I was keeping her in and squeezed it tight.
ななみはどこ?
I was so afraid. My heart felt like it was going to burst out of my mouth. I forced myself to speak anyway. I thought stuff like this only happened on TV and in video games.
ナナミはもう死んだの？
ダウト。だって手首ちょん切られちゃったんだよ。もし生きてるにしても、もうすぐ出血多量で死んじゃうのは変わんないよ。
She's got a point. I started to cry. I could see Nanami's puffed up, pouting face in my mind. She was a little brat, honestly. She was obnoxious. But still, I was so sad. So sad I was crying.
ナナミは僕の妹なんだ。僕の大切な。なんで殺したんだ。ひどいよ。
死んだと思う。もしかしたら君の家に送ったあの手首は別人のものかもしれないよ。
You know, that never crossed my mind.
バングルと携帯はナナミちゃんのものだとしても、手首そのものは別人のものかもしれないっていうこと。
You're right. Nanami was alive?
信じちゃダメだってば。
君が見事クエストをクリアしたら、ナナミちゃんは返すよ。生きているナナミちゃんをね。
Quest. There was that word again. Did he think this was a video game? I think this is a video game. Huh, that's weird. Just kidding. But the real me wasn't a hero.
でももしクリアできなかった場合、ナナミちゃんは帰ってこない。
His voice silently grew as cold as a blade. I felt so stupid being afraid of such an old man. But he was crazy. He was a new gen killer.
だから僕を失望させないようやり遂げてほしい。君ならできるよ。
Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but I'm a pretty disappointing person, so...
なんで僕なの？僕じゃなくても、僕なんかじゃなくてもいいじゃないか。
君でなくちゃダメなんだ。
だからなんで？
君は選ばれた人間だから。
What, like out of like a little hat? Put a bunch of names in a hat and you drew my name? Is that how I was chosen? Chosen?
勘違いしちゃダメだよ、タッキー。あいつの言う選ばれたってのは次の犠牲者として選ばれたって意味なんだから。
I remembered the horrible fates that had befallen the other New Gen victims and shivered.
君は今日の昼間のことをもちろん覚えているよね。
昼間
I don't remember what happened.
学校で君は
Oh yeah.
岸本綾瀬を助けた。
Shogun's email had talked about her attempted suicide. He must have been watching from somewhere. Or maybe he mind controlled her into trying to commit suicide in the first place.
あの花壇のおかげで岸本綾瀬は一命を取り留めた。そうでしょ。
Shogun knew the power I supposedly had. Nobody there had found anything strange in the slightest about that flower bed. The only one who'd known what had happened was Senna, and Senna had said this to me.
お前が妄想したんだろ。
タッキー、将軍の言うことは全力で否定して。
That's right. It was possible that Shogun was only after me, only trying to kill me. Because of his power he thought I had. This power he thought I had. If I told him I didn't have it, maybe he'd let me go.
僕にはそんな力ない。
力って何のこと？僕はそんな言葉は一言も使っていないが。
Oh. Oh crap.
タッキーには力なんてないよ。ただの肝オタなんだよ。タッキーにヒーローの素質なんてないさ。私にハーハーしてるだけの無害な引きこもり予備軍。そうっしょ？
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I am a loser. She was right. Yeah. I don't have any power. That was just a stupid kid's fantasy. After all the things that Senna and Ayase had said, I started to believe it was real. But the two of them were clearly crazy. Okay, but... What was so clearly crazy about them, huh? I was stupid to believe anything a crazy person said. Hadn't Remy said it was all a delusion anyway?
詳しく説明してくれない？あの花壇のこととか。
僕がやったっていう証拠はあるの？花壇を何もないところから出現させるなんて、そんなの僕には無理。
花壇が何もないところから出現したんだ。他の人は誰もが最初からそこに花壇があったって話していたけど、君だけは花壇は最初はそこになかったってそう認識しているわけだ。
Oh no, he's on to me. Ah, I might have dug my own grave again. Wait, who was Shogun anyway? If he knew what the other students and teachers were saying, had he been there to hear it from them?
僕が力なんてない。自分でも一体どうやったのか。
でも使えた。君が妄想したことが現実になった。
惑わされないで。
I'm trying.
タッキー、本当に力なんてあると思う？
Possibly, I
そんなのア
might.
ニメの世界じゃん。タッキーがいるのは現実なんだよ。花壇のこともアヤセッチが2人に分裂したこともそれらが現実だったって証明できる？無理っしょ？分裂したアヤセッチの体に触った？
I didn't.
ただの幻かも。そもそもタッキーはあの時警察とかユアッチに追われて動転してたし。
Then, what about the flower bed?
同じだよ。花壇は最初からそこにあった。
Oh, so, yeah.
タッキーはリミッチを探してあそこへ行った時、頭が痛くてフラフラしてた。アヤセッチが落ちるまでにはっきりとそこに花壇があることを確認した？
You're right.
みんな誰一人として花壇が出現したことを疑問に思ってないってことはさ、逆に言えば最初からそこにあったから疑問に思わないってことっしょ？タッキーが間違えてただけなんだよ。将軍の言葉に惑わされちゃダメ。
花壇は最初からそこにあった。
I repeated what Sari-chan had said.
最初はそこにはなかったって思い込んでたけど、記憶違いだった。僕の脳内での妄想だよ。だってみんなあそこには花壇があったって言ってるんでしょ。力とかそういうわけのわからないものじゃなくて、ただの思い込みだったんだ。
いや、君には力がある。そうだろ？
I don't know. I don't know if you're wrong.
死にたくない。
そうだろ？
わからない。殺さないで。
君は自分の天才的な力についてもっと自覚するべきだよ。その潜在能力はすごすぎる。君なら世界を変えることだってできるんだ。
Really? I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to the base and grind an ISO until I passed out from exhaustion. I wanted to leer at my Serie 10 figure and watch Bloodtoon on an endless loop. That's all I ever wanted, so why?
タッキー、早く逃げて。私がずっと一緒にいてあげる。私だけがタッキーの味方なの。だから帰ろう。三次元とのつながりなんて断ち切って楽しいことだけして生きよう。
さて、前置きはこれぐらいにしてそろそろクエストを始めよう。まずは下のスクランブル交差点がよく見えるところまで行ってほしい。
逃げなきゃ。このままじゃ本当に殺されちゃうよ。
聞こえなかった？
No, I heard
ス
you.
クランブル交差点を見下ろせるところへ移動するんだ。
What, in here? On this... Wherever this is? His voice was soft, but incredibly cold. There was a sharpness to it that made him impossible to disobey.
何を？
My legs were shaking and I couldn't move. I wrapped my arms around myself and hugged tight. Should I do what he said or not? I didn't have it in me to even decide.
僕の言うことが聞けない？
I don't know.
従ってもらわないと、ナナミちゃんの命は保証できないよ。
どうせもう死んじゃってるよ。タッキーが今から頑張ったってただの無駄死にだよ。
ナナミの声聞かせて。
I squeaked out the words, but Shogun ignored me.
その必要はないよ。君はもう少し今の状況を考えた方がいい。
I didn't want to think about the chance that Nanami was dead. I didn't want to imagine her dead. It felt like if I imagined it, it might really happen. I gave in and moved somewhere where I could look down on Scramble Crossing. The ground around my feet was dark. It felt like I might trip if I wasn't careful. There was a clear acrylic board on the side of the roof facing Scramble Crossing, acting as a wall. It was about 3 stories high. When I got close to the wall, I could hear the chaos below me. There was a female voice that seemed much louder than the others. It was the one coming from the big TV.
アクリル板の壁に一箇所だけ壊れて穴が開いている部分があるだろう。
I looked at the wall, wiping away the heavy sweat from my forehead. He was right. There was a big hole. There was a hole big enough for a single person to pass through. It was a strange shape. It was shaped like me if I ran through a wall in a cartoon. Just kidding. It was a strange shape. Like it had been smashed open, someone had clearly done it deliberately. Of course, there was nothing on the other side. It was a sheer off-drop of an 80-story building.
そこから顔を出して下にいるギャラリーに挨拶してあげて。
What did he just said?
もう一度言おうか。その穴から身を乗り出して下にいる人たちに手を振ってあげてほしい。
He couldn't mean.
ほら、あいつタッキーを殺す気なんだって。
I gulped. Is that how he made 5 people jump to their deaths? Saritan was right after all. I had no choice left but to die. I had to jump.
そんなの嫌だ。
拒否すればナナミちゃんは死ぬよ。
従えばタッキーは死んじゃうよ。
What was I supposed to do? I tried to think of my best option, but with every thought I had, the worst case scenario came to me in the form of a delusion. Somebody save me.
お兄のバーカ。
Nanami's voice echoed in my panicked ears.
ヒヒバーカ。
I could see her smiling in my mind. It was my fault Nanami had nothing to do with any of this, but Shogun had kidnapped her because of me, and even cut off her arm. I'm sorry, Nanami. I'm sorry. I wiped the tears away, they came back, and I wiped them away again. And then, with blurry vision, I slowly walked to the hole, and gingerly peered out over the edge. Whoa, that's a city, all right. There's people out there. What are they doing? There was a sudden cheer below me. It was so loud, it sounded like an earthquake. That big crowd in front of the station, and the media, too. They were all here for some event that was about to start. Suddenly, a bright light assaulted me. I narrowed my eyes and looked away. I could see the big TV on the next building over, and the person on it was... me. Me? The big TV showed me with my face covered in tears and my mouth wide open like an idiot. Even my posture looked terrible. At first I thought I was seeing things. And then next I thought that somebody was secretly recording me, and I shivered. I even thought that maybe it was an image that Shogun was stealing from my mind. And finally, I realized that it was a video of me being taken right this very moment. There was text in large letters running across the bottom of the screen. Live from Shibuya Station, the amazing psychic boy. More text was scrolling beneath it. An emergency live appearance of a psychic boy personally vouched for by Yuri Brightman, the greatest psychic of the 21st century. Will he use his powers to find the new Gen Killer? Finally, I understood. The media and the gawkers in Scramble Crossing were all looking at me. Don't look at me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why are they all looking at me? Psychic boy, what the heck? Don't they know what had happened today? There was an earthquake. It was an intensity 5 quake. Over 100 people died. So, why were they all... getting excited over a weird loser like me. It was like a crowd chant at a soccer or volleyball game. All the Daikyuns in Scramble Crossing started to chant. Did they all have a meeting in advance to arrange this, or was Shogun mind controlling them? They were all raising their hands, shouting the same phrase in perfect unison. They were insane. I shivered. The chant continued. Between the chants, I could hear the Daikyun girls screaming at me. When I listened closer, they were all making fun of me. They were all just laughing and enjoying my misery. All they cared about was their own fun. This was a big festival, and I was the sacrifice. And all they cared about was joining in the big party. They were all Daikyun scum. Nobody was going to save me. They all wanted me to die here. Their mass psychosis was going to kill me. And they weren't doing it out of hatred or anger, but just for fun.
やだ。やだ。やだ。やだ。怖い。
I was scared. I thought I would piss myself from fright. I never felt death so close. I thought I was going to pass out, like a child having a tantrum. I was crying and sobbing. I thought that maybe if I cried enough, Shogun would let me go. Maybe the crowd below would have sympathy and come to help. Maybe the police would realize I wasn't the killer, it's just a harmless, dorky loser, and come to save me. Maybe my parents were watching at home, and they'd offer to take my place. Maybe Rimi would appear out of nowhere to save me. Maybe I'd wake up and find out it was all just a dream. I shook my head desperately, screaming again and again. I didn't want to die. But...
その場から一歩でも下がれば、ナナミちゃんは死ぬからね。
Shogun's tone hadn't changed.
君はもう舞台に上がってしまったんだ。覚醒するには最高のステージだとは思わないか？そこに集まっている人たちも君に期待しているんだよ。もしそれを裏切れば、ボートと化して君に襲いかかってくるかもしれない。
After hearing that, I couldn't step back or even turn around.
気にすんな。ただの脅し文句だよ。タッキー、ナナミッチは死んじゃったんだよ。今ここで逃げ出してもタッキーは悪くないってば。
But
そこから見える景色に集中してほしい。
Shogun's voice was completely calm, but had a force behind it. That brooked no disagreement.
君にここでしてもらうことは一つだけ。
飛び降りるなんてできない。死んじゃう。
誰もそんなことは言っていないよ。
Huh? That wasn't what he wanted? Then I didn't have to die?
君には そこから一歩も動かずにディソードを見つけてもらう。
Find my D sword? How? I'd look so hard for it, I'd never even come close. How the hell was I supposed to find it here?
ディソードはいわば妄想の剣。それだけ言えばわかるだろ。
No, I don't understand.
騙されちゃダメだよタッキー。ディソードなんて実在しないって。妄想が実際にあるわけないっしょ。
見つかるわけないよ。
君はこれまでに剣を持った人間と何度か接触した。そうだね。その人物から聞いているはず。ディソードをどうやって手に入れたのかよく思い出してる。
この剣は命運を握る。この剣は嘆きを収束させたもの。この剣は超越した場所に干渉するためのもの。異空間のようなもの。同一次元上にあるもう一つの可能性、あるいは妄想。言い方にあんまり意味はないわ。唯一確かなこの剣もその領域に存在しているということ。いつの間にかそこにあった。気づかなかったわ、最初は。でもちょっとだけ見方を変えたら分かった。もしかしたら匠にももう見えているのかも。見ているだけで。
世界を疑え、仕組みを知れ。お前の見ている景色は本物か。妄想を現実にすることが可能だ。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。つまりエラーを現実として認識させる。
そうだよ。すでに多くのヒントが提示されているよね。君にはもう見えているはず。君の眼下に広がっているその景色の中に。
So, he'd hidden a D sword somewhere in front of me, and he wanted me to find it.
見つけたら許してくれるの？
見つけるだけじゃクエストクリアにはならない。実際に剣を手に入れるんだ。その場から一歩も動いちゃならないっていうルールを破らないようにしてね。
That was impossible. How was I supposed to get the sword without being able to move from up here? What did Shogun even want me to do?
だからあいつは無理難題を突きつけておいて結局タッキーを殺したいだけなんだって。
それができないならナナミちゃんの命はないよ。
逃げようタッキー。お家に帰ろう。
But if I take a single step back, it'll kill Nanami.
だからナナミッチはどうせ助からないってば。
You said he wouldn't hurt her.
あいつの言葉を信じるの？嘘ついてるかもしれないよ。
I looked carefully at the scene in front of me. The lights made it hard to see anything far away. I tried to look at my surroundings as much as I could, but there wasn't much I could see from here. Most everything was hidden in the buildings around me. I had to find it. The sword. I thought back to what Ayase and Senna had said. What did they mean?
でもちょっとだけ見方を変えたらわかった。
本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。
Then I thought back to the patterns on the ceiling in my room back at my parents' place. I'd always looked at them when I was trying to go to sleep, and thought to myself that the knots in the wood kind of looked like a human face. And once I started to see a face there, I couldn't see it as anything else but a face. That's right. This wasn't like a pattern in a piece of wood.
切り取るんだ。
Shogun's voice was still calm as a whisper.
剣が見えたなら、そこから切り取る。君にはそれができる。
Let's see if I can see the sword. Is it like in the crowd? Is the crowd shaped like a sword?
意味不明。そいつは適当言ってるだけだよ。
妄想は現実にすることが可能だ。
Like that flower bed. Like the second Ayase. But the last time I tried to create a real D-sword out of my delusions, by using the fake one, it hadn't worked. I turned my head from left to right. I looked out at everything I could see from where I was standing. I saw a sword! Where? Whoa! Oh! I saw a sword. I don't see the sword, but I'm gonna click yes anyways and see what happens. I saw a sword clearly. I don't see it clearly, but I'm sure it's there. Oh hey, oh hey, oh hey, I think, is this the sword? Here. Is this the sword? Yeah, I'm gonna say I see it clearly. That looks like a sword. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's clearer now. If I could move from here, could I get it? If I can move from here... No, I don't think so. It's like really far away. I could see the sword someplace that wasn't here too. What? Someplace that wasn't here too. I think, I don't... I'm just gonna say yeah.
君には失望したよ。
What? I was pushed from behind hard. Oh my gosh. At some point, someone had gotten behind me. I hadn't noticed at all. It wasn't Shogun. I hadn't heard the creaking sound of the wheelchair. Then who was it? Oh no! The night sky around Shibuya Station spun and spun. I could feel the wind on my whole body. The ground got closer. I could hear screams. No, cheers! Coming from people around me. What was this? Was this the end? Was my life over? No. No, 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 no. Oh no, oh my gosh. Wait. Was that like, what? Wait, what? Was that like, did I get bad end? Was that like, was I at the end? Wait, was... Wait, no, okay. I think that was the... I might go ahead and like... We'll come back again next time. And we'll see about, getting a different ending, because, I don't know. It also kind of felt like a little sudden for the ending. I'll have to like go through it a bit. Well, thank you for coming and watching. Bye bye.